Hello, I'm Dr. Jim Anderson, and I'm with some of my friends here in Western Australia, and we're in the middle of going cave diving. When you go cave diving, one of the important things you learn early on is that you have to use what we call a dive rope. And we take the first end of this and we attach it to the beginning of the cave. And we take the second end of it and we make sure that we always hold on to it so that we won't get lost as we're in the deep, dark cave. Oh dear, looks like I've got a problem here. You know, it reminds me of something. When we're giving a speech, we would prefer not to have our notes out there in front of us. Instead of having to read our speech from notes, wouldn't it be a lot better if you could memorize your speech? Now, you know, I had a similar problem back in school. All of my friends were able to remember all the facts and figures that the teachers were teaching us. And when the test came around, you know, they could just sit down, remember what they had to remember, and they'd pass the test with flying colors. Me, on the other hand, I was no good at this. When it came to memorizing the material that I needed for the test, I was pretty much clueless. Clearly, I needed to find a better way. Eventually, I found a way to get all that information to stick in my brain. What was even better was that, unlike my friends, it would remain there long after the test or final exam had come and gone. I had truly found a way to memorize my material. Now, this is exactly the skill that you're going to need when you have an opportunity to give a speech. You need to be able to memorize your speech in such a way that it comes back to you quickly and easily each and every time that you need to give the speech without the need for any notes. In fact, if you could find a way to get your speech to play out like a big TV in your head, then all you'd have to do is sit back and watch it and tell your audience what you were seeing. Sounds like an impossible dream? It's not, and I'm going to show you how to do it. First, let's start with just a little bit of medical knowledge so that you understand why this technique works. Based on years of research, doctors believe that the part of the human brain that is responsible for our memories is the part that is called the hippocampus. Here's an important part. If this part of the brain is stimulated sufficiently, then we will remember what stimulated it. We are all very visually based beings. This means our memories are made up of images, sort of like a big stack of photographs. If you can visualize something, then it suddenly becomes much easier to remember it. That's why long phone numbers can be awfully hard to memorize. There's no good picture for them. And why that fancy new car that you saw is able to be remembered, even if you've only seen it once. In order to memorize a speech, you need to do three things. Number one, break the speech up into a sequence of steps. These steps need to be as small as you can make them, and they need to be placed in a sequential order: start, middle, and ending. Step number two, you need to associate an image and an action with each step of your speech. The wilder and more outrageous the image is, the easier that step is going to be for you to remember. Step number three, finally, you need to place all of your steps somewhere where you're going to be able to find them. If your speech was short and only had 10 steps, then I'd suggest that you visualize yourself placing them on your body: toes, ankles, knees, shins, hips, butt, back, shoulders, neck, and head. If you have more steps, then I'd use some place that you know very well. Your home is a great place to start. Think of your bedroom and place each step on things that are currently in your bedroom. Now comes the fun part. In order to memorize your speech, what you're really going to be doing is running through your list and recalling the images or actions that you have stored at each location. The key to success is that you'll need to recall each step in its proper sequential order, and that you'll need to be able to do it with little or no effort. How about an example to make this all seem just a little bit more real? Let's say that you were asked to give a presentation on your company's new 401k program. Ugh, how boring would that be? Here are the key points that you need to cover in your speech. Everyone is automatically enrolled upon joining the company. You can unenroll. The company will match the first 5% that you contribute. If you leave the company, you can take your 401k with you, and you can borrow against your 401k in special circumstances. Yawn. Now let's do some work to memorize this speech. Break it into steps. Everyone is automatically enrolled upon joining the company. You can unenroll. The company will match the first 5% that you contribute. If you leave the company, you can take your 401k with you. You can borrow against your 401k in special circumstances. Now create the pictures and actions for each step. Now sorry, these pictures and actions work for me. Results may vary for you. I see an assembly line of new employees moving past a machine that stamps 401k on everyone's forehead. The stamp hits them with a big smack sound and leaves a big red mark. I see some new employees on the assembly line after they've been stamped reaching up and peeling off a piece of clear tape that covered their forehead, and because it got stamped and not their actual forehead, they can just throw it away and they are not labeled as 401k like everyone else. I see the employees on the assembly line one by one stopping at a table where an accountant wearing a green visor and sitting at a plain wooden table sits. Each employee starts to lay down $1 bills on the table, and as he does so, the accountant lays down another $1 bill on the table right by the employee's bill. However, once the employee lays down his sixth $1 bill, the accountant stops laying his money down. The employee scoops up all the money and then gets back on the assembly line. I see some employees jumping off the assembly line holding big piles of cash and vanishing through a hole in the floor that has a big flashing exit sign beside it. I see an employee jumping off the assembly line and running towards a house that is fully on fire. The employee goes over to the big water tank that is located next to the house, turns the faucet on, and drags a hose over to the burning house and turns it on. Money starts to stream out of the end of the hose and smothers the house and puts the fire out. Finally, I see myself sitting in my office, and the assembly line of new employees is running by the office just out in the hall. Hey, hello. So there you go. Listen, talking about how you can memorize a speech is actually a pretty boring topic. But just think about if you could master this skill. If you could lock your next speech into your brain, so when it became time to give your speech to your audience, all you'd really have to do is sort of sit back and let your speech play out in your mind. You could just watch your big mental TV, and you'll be able to give your speech without using any notes. Now, that's a skill I think we'd all like to have. For me, looks like I'm going to have to see if I was able to memorize how to get back to the beginning of this cave. Good luck! You might be asking yourself, where do I go from here? The ability to speak in public and to do it well is a skill that you will use during your entire career. It sure makes sense to invest the time and energy that it takes to develop this skill. A great way to start doing this is to sign up for the free The Accidental Communicator newsletter. This monthly publication is sent to your inbox and is overflowing with tips and techniques on how you can make the next speech that you give your best speech ever. We'll cover how to write powerful speeches, techniques for speaking with confidence, how to connect with your audience so that they'll remember what you say, and hey, we might even cover a PowerPoint slide creation tip or two. Hey, the newsletter is free, so you can't go wrong there. In the description of this video, you'll find a link that you can click on. Go ahead and click on it, and you'll be taken to a web page that will let you sign up for the newsletter. There's even a free gift in it for you when you do. Thanks for watching this video, sign up for the newsletter, and congratulations on starting your journey to accidentally becoming a powerful and effective public speaker.